crisis, there's no excuse. You've been loosed.
This is From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Each week, Janice shares her wisdom to enlighten, educate, and advance the culture in America today. Janice Pons is a mother, author, and free thinker, and your host for our podcast this evening. Now let's join your host, Janice Pons.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. Come on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Janice Pons. I am the host on this broadcast, From Destruction to Dignity. Clinical perspectives, spiritual truths. Listen, tonight we're going to continue our journey as we, the people, have been focused on a specific journey for the past few months related to the 5 pillars of our great nation. What are those 5 pillars? Social Security for our senior citizens. We broke it up. It has various components, right? It's not just retirement. It's disabilities. It's paying Social SSI income for those who are extremely poor and can't do any better for a particular period of time. We talked about retirement, of course. We talked about survivors benefits. Just go back and look at those. I spent a whole month on Social Security. The military, who protects us from all enemies, both foreign and domestic. Education. Our educational system is under ferocious attack. Indoctrination, a target on the backs of our children. If you're paying attention, you know that. Our health care through Medicare, yes, and the interest on our national debt. Now, what we've done, my fellow Americans, my brothers and sisters in Christ, we the people, as represented by our beautiful flag, our presidential seal in this election season that's upon us now. And by the way, I want to say happy Super Monday. Yeah. Tomorrow is Super Tuesday, an important, critical day in our nation. So we're going to dive into some things even more intricately because we've covered Social Security for an entire month. We covered the military for an entire month. We dissected our education system in an entire month, and we covered Medicare, which is the federal insurance program that our taxpayer dollars support. And this month of March, we're going to talk about the interest on our national debt. Yes, those are the 5 pillars that our taxpayer dollars support. Now, before we dive into that even more, remember, we are headed to the state capitals, the call to the capitals on April the 13th, 2024. Remember, we are continuing to form the prayer hubs all over the nation and culminating on October 12th, 2024 on the Washington Federal Mall with our 1 Million Voices Arising. Remember, that's going to be a day of fasting, prayer, and singing praises unto our amazing, magnificent, majestic God on behalf of the Constitutional Republic of the United States of America. Remember, you'll see it there on the screen. My email address is info@janicepons.com if you want help in knowing how to set up a prayer hub, or you want to join one that's already in your area. I can support you with that in that effort. So go to info@janicepons.com. I can help you with that, help you to get your own set up if you want that to happen for you. It's a network that is, new ones are being birthed all over the nation, and you can be a powerful part of that network. So you can reach out at me at janicepons.com, and we will move on with that. I will be glad to provide you with any support or help that you may need. Now, I want to focus a little bit on the prayer focus, because this is what these prayer hubs all over the nation that are being birthed are about. Now, there are 340 million Americans in our great country. there are 210 million Christians in America. They say they're Christians. Okay. I'm not going to argue. That's what they say. Everybody's at a different level, and that's okay. Yeah. Now, based upon the interactions that I'm seeing on JanicePons.com, all I'm seeing right now, everything's subject to change, and it will change. All I'm seeing right now is about 1,000 people gathering to pray for our nation on October the 12th. Remember, April 13th, state capitals. We're focused on what's going on with our children. Don't mess with our kids. We're focused on that specifically and other things as well. We're praying about a sundry of things. We're gathered in unity about our children and other things as well. But we want you to keep your hands off our kids, okay? It's easy to prove how they've been targeted. So all of that's going to lead up to October 12th. Put it on your calendar. April 13th, state capitals. October 12th, Washington Federal Mall. Now, like I said, 1,000 people are gathering based on what I'm saying just on JanicePons.com. But that's subject to change. So what I'm asking you for, I need your help. We're going to change that. I am respectfully requesting your assistance in helping us to reach our goal. The goal is to get 1 million voices arising on the Washington Federal Mall. State capitals, April 13th, October 12th, Washington Federal Mall. Now listen, I'm talking to my brothers and sisters in Christ, all 210 million Christians in this great nation. You cannot convince me that you do not know 10 Christians. Certainly, each of you, each and every one of you knows 10 Christians somewhere in America. Think about it. 10 Christians. Of those 1,000 that I see interacting on JanicePons.com, yeah, you know at least 10 Christians. I need the 1,000 Christians that I'm seeing interacting consistently on JanicePons.com to reach out to 10 Christians. Your family, your friends, your associates. Do you know what will happen when that occurs? We would have reached 10,000 people. You see the power of unity? You see the power of us being on the same page? Then I want them, the 10,000, to send it to 10 people that they know. When that happens, we are going to have 100,000 people. Yes, the goal is 1 million. We can do this. When the 100,000 gets it to the 10 people that they know, we will have 1 million souls, just like me, just like you, us collectively together, gathered on the Washington Federal Mall. What are we going to be doing? Fasting, praying, and interceding on behalf of our great nation. We will be sending praises up to our God, and we're praying for this great nation. God is not done with America, and you know why. We are still here, we the people, us forming a more perfect union. So yes, we're praying for our children in the schools who've been viciously targeted with an attack of indoctrination and dictatorship. Now, here on JanicePons.com, we spent an entire month dissecting that in episodes 138 through 141. I invite you to go back and look at those. And I want to respectfully remind you that that targeting, that dictatorship, it goes back hundreds of years, my fellow Americans, my brothers and sisters in Christ. Yes. And guess what? It was dealt with. It was cut off at its roots. It took some boldness to stand up and confront the pederasty that was going on at that time as being fueled by heads of state. Go back. Episodes 138 and 141 are pretty hard-hitting, but no truth is ever a lie. Everything I said in there is truth from a historical perspective. Really, not even my opinion. It's history. Now, yes, we're targeting our children. My prayer also, we've got a multifaceted God. He can handle more than one thing at a time. You think? Yeah. My prayer is also for the 240 million Americans living paycheck to paycheck. We got the kids and we got their parents. Parents are so distracted. They're overwhelmed. They're barely having enough food on the table. They barely have enough money to put gas in their vehicles. They can barely make ends meet. That's the dynamic that's going on in our country. That's a target that I have. I'm going to be praying for that. Now, that dynamic that I just spoke of, that ties directly into our clinical perspective tonight regarding hopelessness. We have a lot of hopeless people in our nation right now. Do you realize that the suicide rate in our great nation is the highest that it's ever been in the history of our country? And if that's an issue with anybody that you know, call 988 right away. 988 right away. They have skilled, trained people there to help. Then, of course, there's 911. They'll know how to connect you with who you need to be connected with to get the proper intervention. There's a lot of hopelessness going on. So there are many hopeless Americans, and a lot of hopelessness is connected to how they are suffering and struggling. So my fellow Americans, my brothers and sisters, there are dynamics going on in our great nation right now that must be addressed. They need our immediate attention. Yes. Why? Because it's dire. Yes, it's dire. So it ties right in tonight with the topic we're discussing. And let's dive in. This is Super Monday. Tomorrow's Super Tuesday. This whole month of March, let me tell you what, put your seatbelt on. Janice Pons is going to another level. So you're going with me. We're going together. There's a lot at stake in our nation. And guess what? There are solutions. And they are observable and they're measurable. You are going to be so blessed because I have shifted gears. Come on and go with me. Now, all of these dynamics tie into the topic we're discussing tonight. Taxation without this $34 trillion misrepresentation. Taxation without this $34 trillion misrepresentation. Right now, in our great nation, there are 240 million Americans who are having federal income tax, FICA, and Medicare taken out of their paychecks every time they get paid. Every dollar that they are earning is being taxed. Every dollar. Now hold on. Stick with me. The only two deductions that 240 million working Americans get from their earnings are the contributions they make to their pensions, 401k, for example, and flexible spending accounts for their health care. And now look, if you know any more than those two, please put them in the comments. Put them in the comments. Those are the two main ones, okay? Now, I have a very important, significant question to ask you, my fellow Americans. Why, remember, 240 million, that's the case. There are 340 million. Oh, let's do the math. That leaves 100 million. Here's the question. Why are the other 100 million Americans getting more deductions and exemptions from the money that they earn? Of much significance, we must keep in mind that these automatic taxes that are taken out of the checks of these 240 million Americans is exactly what is utilized to support the 5 pillars of our great nation that I have spent the last 6 months dissecting. God showed me that these are the 5 pillars that are the infrastructure to our nation. We will implode if those 5 pillars are not there. So here's the crux of the matter. 100 million Americans are not contributing fully to supporting the infrastructure of America. Those 5 pillars, Social Security for our senior citizens, the military, education, health care through Medicare, and the interest on our national debt. Those are the 5 pillars. Now, prove me wrong if that does not constitute the foundation, the core of supporting this nation. 88% of our taxpayer dollars go towards those 5 things. What about that other 12%? Keep your seatbelt on. We're going to dissect it all. Now, the 100 million Americans, we love them. I'm excited for their success. I'm excited for their wealth. Yes, they work hard. Here's another fact. They are paying 8.2% in taxes, taking advantage of deductions and exemptions that the 240 million Americans simply don't have. Now, here's my question. Is it equitable? Is it equitable? Is it equitable? Additionally, the 100 million Americans, now listen to this. You ready? You got your seatbelt on? They own $25 trillion of the national debt. And the 240 million of Americans who are living paycheck to paycheck are paying them the interest on those $25 trillion. Did you know that? Janice Pons didn't, but when I found it out, I wanted to know more. Stick with me. We're going somewhere, and it's expecting us when we get there. Now, with all of these dynamics, many representatives on Capitol Hill are relentless in strapping we the people, us flowing together as one, strapping we the people with more debt. However, not everyone on Capitol Hill is going for it. Who are those people? House Speaker Mike Johnson and the Freedom Caucus are saying, hold on, just hold up. Wait a minute here. We're not going to be an endless supplier of money to people around the globe without considering other things. Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you, Freedom Caucus. Stick with me. We're framing some things, because we're going to get some understanding here. This thing is shifted. We've shifted. The Senate passed a $95.3 billion bill to aid Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan. Oh, now, a few Democrats voted no. They were protesting Israel's conduct and the human toll of the war in Gaza that started October 7th of 2023. I believe it was the 7th it was October for sure. However, the bulk of opposition came from Republicans. Yeah, the other side of the aisle. Those people. And Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson said that he would almost certainly not bring the Senate's bill up for vote. Wow. Who is he? What is he talking about? Is he paying attention like others are not? Who is the Freedom Caucus? Now, many of the Republicans who oppose the additional aid to Israel, they object to it solely on fiscal grounds. It just simply costs too much. Alongside the government's unjustified, even harmful spending. Did you hear what I said? Unjustified, even harmful spending. A ballooning deficit means decades of no strings attached foreign aid. It's got to end, guys. It's got to end. This thing is out of control. So we're heading for a fiscal reckoning in this country, and we've got to begin to address that. And some of us, some on the Republican side and some on the Republican side are willing to try to do something about it. Who said that? Who said that? Virginia Representative Bob Good, one of 14 Republicans who voted against another failed Israel aid bill recently. Bob Good, he emphasized that he's long been pro-Israel. The Freedom Caucus is close to Donald John Trump, who happens to be leading in the polls for the presidential race. We got a ways to go, but we're going to be talking about and dissecting some things. Get this to President Trump, somebody. I've got something to say to that man that I'm praying for. The Freedom Caucus is close to President Trump, and they oppose the Israel aid. What does that say? 13 of the 14 Republicans who voted against that bill are members of the Freedom Caucus, which is closely aligned with President Trump. That number was a sign of a growing phenomenon. Yes, it is. The Republicans who voted against the aid say the money must be offset somehow. We can't keep this ridiculous unchecked spending going on, whether it is through the cuts to other budget items or through, listen, you ready for this? Or through turning the foreign aid into a loan. A solution that Trump and his allies support. The supplemental aid package should be a loan to the countries in question. Guess who suggested that? Marco Rubio of Florida and Ted Cruz of Texas. Remember those guys? Both of them have historically been pro-Israel, and they voted against it. A loan on friendly terms allows America, who is deeply in debt, and I might go ahead and interject it right now, it is a threat to our national security. Oh, yeah. So a loan on friendly terms allows our great nation, who's deeply in debt, a chance to get our money back and changes the paradigm. It's a shift on how we help others. One of the conservative politicians said that. He said President Trump is right to insist. You know what Trump said? We got to start thinking outside the box. Yay! I agree. And I would dare to say there are millions of other Americans that think the same thing. Now, here's a major takeaway. Are the representatives on Capitol Hill that we, the people, are paying $174,000 up to $175,000 of their annual salaries in agreement with this inequitable dynamic that's going on in our system that is 240 million Americans living paycheck to paycheck, and they, the majority of their taxpayer dollars are supporting those 5 pillars. My fellow Americans, 100 million Americans are not contributing in the same manner to supporting, undergirding, and paying taxes that takes care of those 5 pillars. It's called America's infrastructure. So if our representatives are not adequately representing all Americans, we need to vote them out and send them back to their communities all across the nation. You are not fooling us anymore. This is Super Monday. Baby, we got power at the voting booth. So we're demanding that all Americans pay the same rate regarding taxes. The same rate of 8.55%. Everyone pays the same thing. Pay 8 for 8 to make America great. I'm going to say it again. You're going to hear it a lot. Yeah. Pay 8 for 8. Pay 8% for 8 years to make America great. That's observable, measurable intervention. It will take care of the national debt. And we're pulling our load, all of us pulling the same load together. Oh yeah. I'm a solution-focused problem solver. Also, we're demanding that the 100 million be responsible for estimated tax payments, exclude deductions, and tax breaks that others, listen, they don't get it. They don't get it. We propose that there be limitations for all Americans' contributions to pension and flexible health spending accounts. This would turn this nation around. We're tired of them kicking the can, always talking about the government may close down, all this stuff. It's the same old game over and over again. Is there a need to support Mike Johnson and the Freedom Caucus? I say a resounding yes. It is out of control. And the question is it a security threat to us? Absolutely. We're going to be dissecting that the rest of this month. We'll go there. So our debt's totally out of control. It is not sustainable. Now listen to these additional dynamics. The Congressional Budget Office publishes monthly budget reviews throughout the fiscal year. The federal government, which the fiscal year goes from October to September. The monthly tracker reports preliminary government spending, tax revenues, and deficit data. The Federal Reserve left the interest rates in our nation unchanged at 5.5% in December 2023. The gross national debt set a new record of $34 trillion. With $34 trillion in debt. So at the current rate, the annual interest payment on our national debt would be $1.87 trillion this year. Guess who's paying for it? The 240 million Americans. Because when you multiply the $34 trillion by 5.5%, take note that in the past 5 years, the legislative branches added a total deficit of $9.955 trillion plus $509 billion for the first quarter of 2024. That just means we've added over $10 trillion in debt when we totaled the deficits from 2019 to 2023. Do you hear where I'm going? Do you hear where I'm going? Do you hear where I'm going? Do you see what's going on? Look, we need a revolution. And we're talking about major changes. Do y'all remember the American Revolution? Yeah. It started when conservative colonial merchants formed an alliance with the radical Samuel Adams and his Sons of Liberty. Are there any Sons of Liberty out there? I've heard of the Citizens of Liberty in Broken Arrow here in Oklahoma on December 16th, 1773. This group of about 60 men donned blankets and had on Indian headdress, and they marched to Griffin's Wharf, and they boarded 3 ships, and they dumped 342 tea chests valued at 18,000 pounds into the harbor to protest British Parliament taxation with without representation. And look, this was a major stand against the British rule. So here's the deal. You ready? We the people support taxation. We support those that make a lot of money. And we support taxation without this $34 trillion misrepresentation, which takes us right into this hopelessness. And let me tell you, we're going to touch upon this this is going to be a quick touching upon this hopelessness that is going on in our great nation. Why is it going on? Most have gone through a loss and all these dynamics. I tell you, the people hopeless. The rates of people wanting to take their lives in our great nation is the highest it's ever been. They're overwhelmed. They don't know what is hopelessness. It's a feeling of despair. It's a feeling of despair or lack of hope that life can get any better than it does. These feelings may make you pull back from your life and avoid doing things you normally do. And you'll end up having wrong thoughts. Yes, you will. You'll have wrong thoughts. So here's the bottom line. If you're hopeless and you feel like you can't go on, call 988 or 911. So here's the core. We have to get to the root of the issue and work through that. That's why Janice Pons is always talking about the therapeutic process. If you haven't thoughts of self-harm, reach out now. There's help. There are people trained to help you. Why do we need hope? Hope is what helps us get through those moments. We need hope because it helps us to tap into the positive belief that there is a better moment that you will walk right into. It's important to pay attention if you start feeling hopeless, reach out for support, reach out for help. Here's the key. You have to work through the stressors. Yes, you do. And one way you do that, and you can do it through the therapeutic process that I'm always talking about, we learn to reframe hopeless thoughts. We learn to get away from catastrophizing, where we believe that the difficult situation that is permanent. We learn to look at it from another perspective. Learn to reframe our thoughts, learning how to be gentle with ourselves. While it may be intense, you can make a difference, particularly when you partner with others. We're talking about hopelessness. We're talking about our great nation. Finding and focusing on the positives in life does not mean that you have to forget or invalidate the struggles. It just means you do not have to suffer quite so acutely. If you're open to other ways of framing it, you will get better. I've walked through it. I've walked many other people through it. Yes, I have. Listen, hopelessness can leave you feeling empty and numb. Oh, yeah, I've had some brief moments of it, but, I had to shake myself. Yeah, had to shake myself. Self-care, leaning into your support system. That's a part of it all. Yeah. The people who care about you are the ones that are there for you. And guess what? When they're there for you, when we're there for each other, guess what? Then they realize they gonna need it too. So what have we talked about tonight? We're talking about this taxation we don't want the taxation without. We want taxation. Yeah, we're for taxation, but we want this $34 trillion misrepresentation to stop. And I'm telling you right now, there are ways to do it, and it's ways to keep our fellow Americans from feeling so hopeless that they want to check out. Because we together, we the people, one nation, under God, yes, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, are going from destruction to dignity. I'll see you next week. Remember, we're going somewhere and it's expecting us when we get there. Good night.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Janice's mission is to provoke thought, bring awareness, and point people towards intervention when needed. As a reminder, this show is not therapy, but for educational purposes only. For more information, check out JanicePons.com or follow her on social media.
Education, affirmation, dedication, information, revelation. A new nation. We are God empowered. Strength is liberty, been set free. Education, affirmation, dedication, information, revelation.